Welcome back to Hammock Radio. I'm Jason, Kilo 8 Tango Sierra Golf, and today I'm on my back deck. It's November and it's already almost 70 out in the morning. It's really crazy here. It's been a weird year, but let's go ahead and do a little walkthrough of the 705, and I'll do a little comparison to the KX2 and FT891. This is by no means extensive. I don't claim to be an expert at any of this, but I thought I'd just do a few comparisons and go through a few of the specs and do a little walkthrough. Just the quick hand stuff that someone like me cares about. I don't want to get too into the weeds with it. Just the bare minimum to decide one way or the other which kind of radio you want or which would fit your style of operating. So let's go ahead and get into it. So here we have the three contenders. We have the IC-705, KX2, and the FT891. Now, just for comparison's sake, the 705 is 7.9 inches by 3.3 inches by 3.2 inches, and the KX2 is 5.8 inches by 2.8 inches by 1.5 inches. Obviously, with the 705, it's a dark background, but you can pretty much see it in direct sunlight. I don't have an antenna attached yet, but the waterfall does show up depending on what color you use. And of course, you can see the KX2 in direct sunlight pretty easily. It also has a backlight that'll turn orange at night or in low light. But the monochrome screen is definitely an improvement over the color screen in terms of visibility in direct sunlight. But I won't complain. It does what it needs to do, and in the 705 it is still visible. We used it in direct sunlight the other day and had no problems with it. The audio quality is pretty good in both of these. The 705 has a front-facing speaker, and you can plug in the hand mic and get a speaker out of this, although it's pretty tinny. There's no bass to it, so it is kind of hard to hear depending on where you're at. But if it's windy out, it'll probably work pretty good for you. But this does get pretty loud. The KX2 does get pretty loud, but the speaker's on the back, so it's not directed at you. But you can always plug in headphones to either of these, or a headphone mic combo, and it still works. If you're on top of a mountain and it's pretty windy out there, that's probably the way to go. We're currently at 1.56 with the buddy pole antenna I have set up. It's just the buddy pole in a 20-meter dipole configuration. It's about 8 feet off the ground, so it's not worth transmitting off of, but it'll work for reception.
On VOB and broadcasting via W5OC currently in Mineola, Texas. The Flyers Club net meets at 14,290 USB 7 days a week. This time of year at 1630 UTC. We're on every day of the year. The Flyers Club consists of military aviation members, both active and retired from all services air branches. The military or aviation to check in, please visit our great website at www.airforcesflyers.net. That's airforcesflyersclub.net. Learn more about us. Anyway, we'll go down once the initial check-in list, and then we'll try to make it back around depending on how much time we have remaining to a 73 round or any other final comments. Please try to limit your comments to 2 minutes. We like to hear stuff from aviation. That's why we were founded and what we're all about. And yeah, the occasional weather's okay, but
Of course, compared to the 891, it has no battery. The speaker is pretty loud. There's no tuner, but it's 100 watts. So if you want to go QRO, definitely take the 891. You can get an amp for the KX2, but that's pretty costly and kind of defeats the purpose. The 705, like I said, is 10 watts max. There's no amp at the moment, although you could probably rig something up with one of the Chinese amps, or maybe they'll come out with something later on. The 891, of course, doesn't have a tuner. This KX2 does have a tuner, which is awesome, and I would recommend you get a KX2 with a tuner built in, because why wouldn't you? It's really that good. There's no tuner in the 705. But that's not to stop you from using something like a T1. And I think there's a MT-705 is the other external tuner that's coming out. And then of course, Icom is making their own. I have not seen that anywhere yet, other than some pre-production shots. I won't get into the argument of whether or not you need a tuner. I think not having a tuner is beneficial cost-wise. And with the amount of resonant antennas you can use out there, especially like an in-fed half-wave or link dipole, I don't really see a need for it. Just added weight and cost, but it doesn't hurt to have something like this on hand, just as easy protection for your radio, or if you are in a situation where you just need to clip onto something and make it work. So of course the KX2 has a accessory key, phones and mic, and just the antenna jack on the other side. You can run external power or internal power, or both at the same time, and it'll use whichever has the highest current at the time. The 705 has an antenna, ground, speaker mic, micro SD, and then send ALC, tuner, key, and micro USB, and then your DC in. It also uses one of their HT batteries. I think there's a bigger one you can get for this. I haven't really looked yet, but there's a big one. I don't know if it'll get you 10 watts output, but I wouldn't count on it. So in the 705 you get one cable for everything. You get a built-in USB sound card. So one micro USB to standard USB gets you 2 COM ports. The first COM port carries cat control and audio, and the second COM port carries the GPS NEMA data. So you can tap into the GPS data and sync up your clock on your Raspberry Pi or on your laptop. So then for something like WSJTX, you always have a correct time. You can also use Win4 Icom, which now supports the 705. So you can pull that first COM port into the Win4 Icom and send that data back out to WSJTX, your logger, your CW skimmer, whatever else you want to have plugged in here for pulling in that data. And then of course the single cable for USB, cat control, and audio, which is a super bonus compared to the KX2, which you have 2 cables and an external USB sound card in most cases, and you only get cat control and audio. So like I said, it depends on your operating style, whether you want a touch screen and all the digital mode stuff, or you just want to go out and throw some CW or some QRP SSB on a mountaintop. I definitely recommend this for SOTA, not so much this, because this is pretty heavy, especially if you have to carry another battery with it. But if you're like me and you like digital modes, I recommend the 705. So looks like I'll have to be finding a new home for my KX2, because I like to just pass it on to someone who will actually use it on a mountaintop, because here in Ohio there's no mountaintops. So, but you can't beat the portability of a KX2. But you can't beat the digital mode capabilities and the touchscreen of a 705. But you can't beat the QRO ability of the 891. So I think from here on, this will be my operating pair of radios, depending on QRP or QRO in a park. Alright, so that's been a quick walk through the 705. Hopefully I gave you some extra information so you can make a better decision between this or the KX2. I'll throw a quick little unboxing in here at the end, and I'll go ahead and say 73. Thanks for stopping by.